very good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. You're watching AMS Live. My name is Boy. It is Sunday, December 17th, 2023. Another day at Polderbaan, another morning of arrivals. It is basically a continuation of yesterday, with the exception that visibility is a bit better and it's a few degrees warmer and wind is a few knots stronger. Other than that, similar conditions to yesterday. Right now, Polderbaan is the only runway being used for arrivals. We have wind blowing from the southwest, 14 knots or so, I believe it is. Our first airplane is an Embraer 195 from Lot, arriving from Warsaw. We have, I believe, 3 Queens inbound, 2 or 3. I will show you when I have the time for it, the overview and the briefing. The A340 is also coming, and of course the A380 expected around 12:30. This is better. Looked like the drag setting on my tripod accidentally got switched to a different setting. I think this is better. Visibility, again, not that great. We have a ceiling of 900 feet, which means that similar to yesterday, we're going to see nothing, and then all of a sudden lights appear from out of the clouds. Easyjet A320 arriving from Manchester, and we've got a couple of heavies after this airplane up next. Easyjet flight 22161 arriving from Manchester. Flight time no longer mentioned. Same hiccup as I've been having before. Have to be really early to click on the label, otherwise the flight time disappears. This is not Jesus coming, but G-EZUR. The G-EZUR registered A320, British registration, obviously. It's 11 years old, first flight February 2012. We're still waiting for the coming of Jesus, but this is its cousin G-EZUR. Jesus Christ. What's up, G-EZUR? It's a geezer. I say it, I mispronounced it, it's a geezer, of course. A true British geezer. Top of the morning to you all, folks. Valentine, Evan, Jeffrey, Dirk, Maria, Ricardo, Patrick, John. Good to see you all. Merlijn, Nick, Sven, Nicolo. Have to keep remembering the emphasis is on the last syllable. Who else is in the chat? I'm slowly scrolling down. Geekaboo, good morning. QJ, good morning. Erwin, goedemorgen. Edward, goedemorgen. JBL Fire, good morning. Martin R, goedemorgen kerel. Oh, new messages. Quick Hero. Ohio. Captain Eddie Boss, good evening, good afternoon. Alright, heavies time. Arriving from Shanghai, China Cargo Airlines, flight 217. Now, where were we? Michael, goedemorgen. James Lucid, good morning. Leo, Mr. Blue Sky, Young Case, Michelle, Lutz, Mario, morgen. Infinity, goedemorgen kerel, alles lekker? Black Tip Flight, good morning. Let's see who else is there. Jinshin, good morning my friend. Aloha. Peter, good morning. William, good morning, goedemorgen. Bisnovat, goedemorgen. Frost the Glacian. Nice name, good morning. Prasanna, good morning. Ronald. No, already had Ronald. Let's see. Mr. Donnelly, good morning Jerry. Good to see you again. Hope all is well. No glide slope shot weather today, unfortunately. Frans, goedemorgen. Navy Jack, Mrs. Professor, Jeff. Good morning to you all. Peter, Brenda. Right. If I recall correctly, but I was looking in the chat window and not on flight radar, this is American flight 204 arriving from Philadelphia. Haven't seen the firefighters yet, so we might also see them for their round macro overview. This is what it currently looks like. It's definitely a bit lighter than it was yesterday. Visibility also a bit better. Main tower is visible a bit better than yesterday. Overcast conditions mostly. The wind is blowing from the southwest, so this is directly facing the wind. I think that's also where the weather is coming from. You do see some thinner parts. Again, they're expecting the possibility of maybe a few rays of sunshine later in the day, particularly. Again, seeing is believing. I'm not sure if we are going to see any significant changes in the weather compared to what it is already. This is KLM flight 702 arriving from Buenos Aires. It's a 787-9. Flight time no longer mentioned, but if I recall correctly from yesterday, it was around 13 hours. Seven-year-old airplane, first flight March 2016. Finnair A321 up next, and looks like there might be a little gap after that, which allows me to brief you guys. Vaguely visible is Finnair flight 1301. It's an A321. Flight time thus far 2 hours 15 minutes. Also 6 years old, first flight February 2017. And indeed, Jerry, that is a very pragmatic approach. Quick Jägermeister shots with low ceiling, absolutely. The ceiling is necessitating taking the shots in one go. Atten, as we say in Dutch. In other words, open your throat and pour it in one go. Also hearing, and you guys probably too, the departure of an airplane to the north. Obviously cannot see it. And I'm doing well, Infinity, thank you for asking. Happy to be out for a few consecutive days again after, what was it, one stream in 2 weeks or so? This is going to end up as one of the months with the least number of streams, least number of views due to bad weather. So I'm happy to be out again and happy to have been out for a couple of days now. I mean, still have plenty of stuff to do. I'm not going to get bored quickly, but it's always nice to go out and do this. Right, it appeared from thin air and it has landed in the meantime. Are we going to get a delayed butt shot or not? That's the question. Well, more heavies are coming. They're all flying base. Which means that I am going to brief you now that I have the chance before it's going to get too busy. So, and in the meantime, Sander, goedemorgen. Good to see you again, my friend. Hope all is well. G. Lee, good morning. All other viewers who have joined in the meantime, welcome to the show. This is the current METAR, or at least it was the latest METAR before going live. Let's refresh it. Okay, so it has changed a little bit. We now have a ceiling of 1,000 feet. The ceiling is rising, which is good. That means that it might open up further as the morning progresses. For now, and let me copy it so that I can paste it into the ticker for you guys later. We have wind blowing from the south-southwest, just under 15 knots. We have broken clouds at 1,000 feet. Also, the ceiling is 1,000 feet. The temperature is 9 degrees C, so that is just below 50 F. And temporarily broken clouds at 900 feet. In terms of, we're not going to see any precipitation in the coming hours, so I'm not going to show you the radar, the weather radar. We are standing at the only runway being used for the arrivals. Departures take place from Kagbaan and Alsmeerbaan, and in terms of the quad squad, this is the pipeline. These are the airplanes I'm going to stick around for. First up, Cargolux, Italia, arriving from Nairobi, almost in Dutch airspace. Flying over London right now is the A340 from Surinam, and southwest of Ireland, another 747, and behind it another Cargolux 747. Expected later in the morning, nice bit of temporal spacing in between them. Last airplane of the day today is going to be the A380, expected 1:45. That is going to be the last airplane of the day. Looking left of me, and I'm seeing that the firefighters have also left the station and are doing their patrol round, while I am quickly pasting the METAR into the ticker, and I have to adjust the font color because it was white, and that is what it automatically takes over to black. Right font size and type, press save, and there we go, back at it again. Now, firefighters will be coming from the north this way. They are now driving on the east side of the runway to the north. They will go around the northern threshold, head back south, and they will be coming along this way. In the meantime, the three heavies that were flying base earlier now all are on final. Three heavies, starting off with Delta Airlines flight 136 in a few minutes. It's an A350 arriving from Detroit, Michigan. The flight has been taking 6 hours and 41 minutes so far. Here we go. This airplane is 4 years old already. Began flying in October of the year 2019. Looks like my chat window has frozen. Let's see if we can update that. Is that the last message? F16 too light for Navy, Jerry says, and that is also what I am seeing on my phone screen now, so I think I'm caught up again. Hey Paula, goedemorgen. Good to see you again. Now, after Delta Airlines flight 136, we are going to see Air Europa, Dreamliner arriving from Madrid. Thought I saw Drin ask for a good check. Well, very comparable with yesterday, unfortunately. It does look like 2 birds are there over the, oh, 4 in the water, past the bridge, further to the, what is it, south. Still early. That's just driftwood. What's that? That's also nothing, right? Otherwise, empty water further to the north. In the water at least, also no birds. Now, combo shot of the Firefighters and Air Europa flight 1091 arriving from Madrid. It's a Boeing 787 Dreamliner. Touching down after 2 hours and 3 minutes of flight, 7 years old. Photo bombed by the Firefighters. Mother. The lads were waving enthusiastically on all 3 vehicles, within all 3 vehicles. Even the lights were on. All right, now quick turn back. Delta Airlines flight 36 up next, a regular A330, so this one might get loud. I'm hoping for it, of course. Arriving from Orlando, Florida. Flight time no longer mentioned, but probably 8 to 9 hours or so. I think 8 hours, most likely. 7-year-old airplane, first flight January 2016. Then, after this airplane, a little appetizer, narrow body appetizer, packed in between the heavies. Easyjet A320, and then another Dreamliner from KLM. Come on, son, work that reverser. You know you want to. Right, that was Captain Letdown flying the plane. And a big thank you to Evan for just now gifting a membership, and Nick was gifted the membership. Welcome to the Aurora Sky Lounge, Nick. Don't forget to say thanks to Evan. Evan, thank you so much for your gifted membership, buddy. Now folks, more heavies are underway. This is a little appetizer in between a narrow body Easyjet A320. Arrival from London Luton, flight 22513. Flight time no longer mentioned, but on average 40 to 45 minutes between the London-based airports and Amsterdam. And this is another cousin of Jesus and G-EZUR. This is the G-EZUR, the G-EZUR, with all his cousins already coming to Amsterdam. Will we see Jesus later? This airplane also British registered, obviously, starting with the G. 11 years old. And Mr. De Souza, Daniel, goedemorgen, good morning. Good to see you again, mate. All is well over here. Got the hand warmers on. Nice and toasty warm hands. We have decent visibility. And our Kestrel buddy is also back. Looking for breakfast. Fresh mouse meat is on the menu. Also on the menu, more heavy hitters. Here is another flying AMS Live logo, KLM flight 668, 7879, Dreamliner arriving from Austin, Texas. 6 years old, first flight August 2017. Also a big thank you to Calais of Melbourne, Australia for celebrating 2 months of membership. He writes, thank you, a great live stream, Merry Christmas. Well, I'm not going to Merry Christmas. I'm single and I'd like to stay that for some time to come, but Merry Christmas to you too, my friend. Must be weird. I mean, living in the Northern Hemisphere, I'm always used to shitty weather during Christmas, but for everybody down under, you guys can celebrate Christmas at the beach in your swimming trunks, and your only concern is that you have to put on enough sunscreen in time. Must be weird doing that. At least for me, I don't know better than weather like this around the time of Christmas. Must be weird also, all those songs referencing White Christmas. When you're experiencing heat waves and forest fires and stuff like that around Christmas. Alright, now, next up, Airbus A330neo, Delta Airlines flight 162, arriving from Minneapolis, Minnesota. This airplane, yes, still have the flight time, I was in time, flight time 7 hours and 27 minutes. It's an A330-900, 1 year old, first flight was in September last year, not this year, but last year, 22. Let's see. TUI Dreamliner arriving from Curacao up next. Let me try to zoom out a little bit. I'm thinking... Ah yeah, the first queen is in the vicinity of Lelystad. Now, did I count correct? 3 Queens, 1 A340, and of course the A380 expected for. Welcome one and all, if you just tuned in, you're watching AMS Live. My name is Boy, this is the Polderbaan, currently in use as runway 18 right, the only runway being used for arrivals. Firefighters have done their round, they're now in front of the fire station, which is a bit further to the left. And as you guys can see, they are testing their equipment, which is something they almost always do. You can also see a windsock indicating the wind. Wind is blowing from the southwest. According to the meter, 14 or so knots. Let's quickly turn back the camera because behind me the Dreamliner from TUI is approaching. And is it? It is. Well, it is a counterfeit AMS Live logo, but it does look decent enough. TUI flight 351 7878 Dreamliner coming back from Willemstad, Curaçao, one of the ABC islands just off the coast of Venezuela in the Caribbean Sea. And the B respectively being formed by Aruba and Bonaire. Popular holiday destinations. And quite a lot of flights actually between those islands and mainland Netherlands. The Dreamliner we saw land just now was 9 years old, is 9 years old, began flying in May 2014. On the left side you can see the dedicated ATC tower and also the fire station. This runway, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Schiphol, is the newest edition, was built in 2003 and is quite far removed from the main platform area. The original ATC tower over there, adjacent to it is the terminal building, that's where all the gates are, and that is where they all need to taxi to from over here. Which means that airplanes that have landed over here still have a 10-minute taxi at least to get back to the gate. Along the line of trees that you see left of the fire station. And because this is so far removed from over there, you can see it's a bit hazy. Zooming out fully you can see, and you'll understand why there's a second tower over here, because otherwise ATC would need a telescope and good visual conditions. Yesterday it would have been impossible to see what is going on over here, what was going on over here from over there. Visualization of the wind. These chimneys are in the port area of Amsterdam, a little west of the main city. You can see that the smoke or the vapor or whatever it is that is emanating from the chimneys is blowing away from us. Wind is blowing from the southwest. The camera is now pointing to the northeast. Roughly 45-degree angle versus the runway. The runway runs parallel to this water. This is looking to the north. And our next airplane has just become visible. An A321 from Easyjet. No, British Airways. Apologies. BA flight 2540. A Speedbird A321 arriving from London Gatwick. Flight time 38 minutes. 16-year-old airplane. First flight was in March 2007. It is nice to see that the water level on the lands, in the tracks for instance, it is lowering ever so slowly. Yesterday we did not have any precipitation of significance and none is expected for today. We have had a lot of rain this fall. It's going to be a record year. I think October and November were the wettest since the recorded history of the weather in the Netherlands, and that began I think in 1906 or 1907. So we have had a lot of precipitation. A lot of the fields that you see in the Netherlands currently have contained water. The ground in a lot of parts is fully satiated with all the rain, all the heavenly water. Hadi Afrodite, goedemorgen. Good to see you. Hope you're feeling a bit better already. Definitely some thinner parts here and there. This is where also the clouds are moving from. We've had a few instances where wind on ground level was coming from a different direction than where the clouds were being blown from, but you can see that today also in the higher atmosphere the wind is blowing from the southwest, which means that this is where the weather is coming from today. Hopefully it's going to open up a little bit more later as the morning progresses. Time will tell. Now, if you need to grab a fresh cup of coffee or make a fresh cup of tea, now's your time. If you need to use the bathroom, you have a few minutes. Our first queen is flying base, expected to be number 2, following an LL Boeing 737 that is now on the glide slope and ordinarily would have been visible already. But due to the low ceiling, we'll have to wait until it moves to below the ceiling. Herr Wolf, Morgan, Servus, good to see you again. Hope all is well. Perfect timing if you just tuned in. Jerry says, water in Holland, get some windmills and pump it out. That's absolutely a terrific idea. I will write a letter to the Prime Minister once we know who that is going to be. If we're ever going to find out, and I will forward your suggestion. Why didn't we think of that before? And Piet says, goedemorgen, groet uit Oosten. Greetings from the east. Greetings back from the west. Ah, there it is. Our next airplane. It's the entree before the first queen. LL Flight 337, Boeing 737-900 arriving from Tel Aviv. Has been flying now for 4 hours and 38 minutes to get from Israel to where it is right now. The airplane in total has been flying for 9 years now. Began its career in July 2014. Behind it is going to be the first queen of the day. The first of 3 if I counted correctly. Cargolux Italia, flight 2616 arriving from Nairobi. It's a 747-400 that has been flying now for 8 hours and 35 minutes to get from Nairobi to where it is right now. Still not visible, but I'm already telling the details. 15 years old, so for a 747-400 that is relatively new. Began flying in July 2008. Now, not going to follow this landing extensively if the 747 becomes visible already in a few moments. Just to see if the landing is decent. Might also, unless of course they are using the reversers. 737 can sound quite gnarly if they apply full reverse thrust. That is worth sticking around for. Also not seeing the 747 yet. Right, no reversers. But we are going to see the 747 any minute now, so back to the north it is. Now we wait. I spy with my little eye the first queen of the sky today. The Cargolux 747 arriving from Nairobi, Cargolux Italia flight 2616, now underway for 8 hours and 37 minutes. 15-year-old airplane, first flight July 2008. Is it going to get loud? That's the question. I'm always hoping they are listening to Jennifer Lopez, Let's Get Loud, while in the cockpit. Probably not, but to get them in the mood to use those reversers, give us a run for our money. Nice. Now, don't forget to drop a like if you haven't done so already, if you're liking stuff like this. Make sure to subscribe if you want to stay informed of upcoming streams like this. Also, Evelyn, are you sitting on the bench by any chance? Celebrating 1 month of membership, says hello, I arrived in time at the runway to see the 747. And what a nice landing it was. Thank you so much for your continued support and welcome to the show. Now, also celebrating a month of membership is Patrick. Thank you so much. He says, yeah baby, let's get loud. Absolutely. We've got more underway. Definitely worth sticking around for. Evelyn is at the bench. Goedemorgen dan. Hi. Good morning, Georgios. I hope you were just in time to see the landing of the 747. In the meantime, business is continuing over here. Speedbird also landed. So, as posh Brits do, much more restrained. We are, however, going to see a bum shot, butt shot, booty shot, a behind scene, I should say. Next up is going to be Croatia Airlines flight 450, Airbus A320 arriving from Zagreb. And Stephen Elaine, good morning, who just found us here. Welcome to the show, guys. Hope you guys are enjoying it. Welcome to all other viewers who might have stumbled on this show. You're watching AMS Live. My name is Boy. This is the only runway currently being used for arrivals at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport. They're landing from the north to the south. This is runway 18 right. And the wind is currently blowing from the southwest. So there's a little bit of crosswind. Might lead to some crabbing with the airplanes pointing their nose towards us before touching down. It's the wind that blows the most often in the Netherlands, southwest wind. We're also standing in line with the first exit of the runway, which means butt shots galore. Normally we would also be able to see glide slope shots, but visibility unfortunately today and also yesterday restricting it, limiting us to seeing just one airplane at a time, although it also has something to it, seeing them all of a sudden, seeing the lights all of a sudden appear from the clouds. No time to linger, the next airplane already almost touching down. KLM flight 749, Dreamliner. Not a lot of separation. Now, just a question. Yesterday, after I was done streaming, packed everything in and walked back to my car. Well, while I was loading my car with my equipment, there was a go-around. And did not pay any particular mind to it, but the next airplane also went around, 2 consecutive go-arounds, and made me walk up to the runway, see if maybe something was up. Was there debris on the runway or something else? Were there any vehicles in the vicinity or something? Couldn't see anything, so I was wondering maybe if somebody caught wind of what was going on back then. I think I was done streaming around, what was it? 1:15. So it must have happened between 1:30 and 2, I think. Still curious to hear what was going on, because we did not see a single go around yesterday while streaming. The wind was not too hard, no gusts, no significant gusts at least. So I was curious if anybody happened to have picked up what was going on. Yeah, possible wind shear, that is of course possible, Martin. Hadi Daniel, goedemorgen, doing well. Hope you were in time to see the first 747 just now. Next up is KLM flight 1352, Embraer 190, arriving from the Czech Republic from Prague. 11-year-old airplane, first flight January 2012. And another Delta A350 behind it, Delta Airlines flight 74, arriving from Atlanta, Georgia. Many of us are anxiously waiting for the moment that the first A350s are going to be delivered to KLM, which has also ordered them. Now, talking about deliveries taking place this Tuesday, which unfortunately for me is a working day. The first A321neo for Transavia is expected to be delivered if they don't break anything. Hopefully somebody will be around to film it for you guys. Definitely something worth watching if you have the time for it. Next airplane is Delta Airlines flight 74. It's an Airbus A350-900 arriving from Atlanta, Georgia. Flight time 7 hours 26 minutes. 5-year-old airplane, first flight January 2018. Hey Ross, morning. Good to see you again, mate. Cheers for the kind words. Hope you're doing well. Always appreciative of people from North America tuning in live. Jerry, Evan, Ross, all the other folks, Miss Professor. I mean, typically streaming at a time that a lot of people would be going to bed or are in bed already. Which is why I'm always happy to see people from North America, South America, Central America tuning in when I'm doing AM streams, local time. Alright, I think that A340 is also already on the glide slope. Or did I see that incorrectly? Let's see. Nope. Number 4. Got 3 narrow bodies leading the pack. Starting with, and this is the wrong label. I have to zoom in a little bit on flight radar. Lufthansa flight 988 arriving from Frankfurt. Airbus A320. Flight time no longer mentioned, but probably 45 minutes or so. Maybe an hour. Very annoying glitch in my Android version of flight radar on my phone. Updating the software does not resolve it. Have to click on the label in time, otherwise the flight time is gone and I can no longer see the flight time. Can still see all the other details, luckily. It's a persisting issue that I haven't found a solution to yet. German butt shot with some nice lighting to boot. Beautiful. Alright, 2 more narrow bodies and then we're going to see the airplane with 5 APUs. Or 1 APU and 4 hair dryers, blow dryers if you will. The Airbus A340 from Surinam, Airways arriving from Paramaribo. First up is this Easyjet A319 arriving from London Gatwick. Austrian registered, so Alpine on ATC. 12 years old, first flight July 2011. And it almost looks like the sun might come out. How about that? Holy moly. The sun, a mythical heavenly body. People in the Netherlands and I think in Great Britain also. And Germany, we've all heard about it, but it's a bit like Bigfoot or Loch Ness, the monster of Loch Ness. It's a mythical figure. Nobody actually knows what it looks like. But it does look like the heavens are opening up a little bit. I'm seeing bits of blue here and there, so that is good news. Right. Last airplane before the A340. Another member of the Quad Squad. But this is an A320neo for arriving from Birmingham, Easyjet, flight 27850. Here too, no longer the flight time visible. If I recall correctly, approximately 45 minutes or so, 50. Not too far away, 440 kilometers, so that is 300 or so miles. Also another Austrian registered Easyjet, 1-year-old, first flight December 2022, so this month it celebrates its first birthday. You can see a little bit of banking. If time allows me, I will do another update of the meter when I get the chance. See what the wind is doing. You often see that it picks up as the day progresses. I'm not sure. It doesn't feel like it's significantly different from what it was at the beginning. might have picked up just a little bit. Right, well, I'm already seeing lights up ahead, so I'm going to turn back. Member number 2 of the quad squad, it is Surinam Airways A340, at the moment number 10 worldwide, tracked by most tracked, number 9 now, 272 people tracking it on flight radar. I'm sure we can do better looking at the viewers of the stream right now. Not sure what the number 1, how many are tracking, but we can definitely aim for top 5 if you ask me. Surinam Airways, flight 994, Airbus A340-300 arriving from Paramaribo. This airplane is now underway for 8 hours and 28 minutes and it's 15 years old, began flying in April 2008. Yesterday they did apply some reverse thrust, made a lovely sound, although it was short-lived. Let's see if today the captain, or the pilot flying I should say, does better. Also noticing that the vibrations are increasing a little bit, so after this landing I will also enable image stabilizer. Does look like wind is picking up a little bit. Right outer reverser dysfunctional. I think we also saw the inner malfunctioning earlier. Or was that the outer one as well? Is the recurring issue? That could also be the case. I have seen it before that one of the right reversers did not seem to function. Delayed booty shot coming in. In the meantime, let me quickly go into the camera menu, image stabilizer, and enable that. There we go. Right, its cousin will be landing shortly. Turkish A330-300 arriving from Istanbul. That's typically a flight of 3 or so hours. Flight 1951. Infamous flight number, if you guys don't know, look it up on Wikipedia. Turkish flight 1951. Luckily no issues with this landing. A bit disappointing in the audio department. I think we might be in for a butt shot, an up-close butt shot of the A330. There we go. That's a big ass plane and a big ass on that plane. Hey Miss Wolves, good morning, good to see you too. Hope all is well. For me, I'm doing perfectly fine over here, enjoying the hell out of this morning. It's a bit windy though, and let's see. Quick dive behind the computer screen. Shows us that the two queens that are up next are flying over mainland UK and just southwest of Ireland. We can see that the A380 is just west of Bucharest, now expected at 12:40. quick update of runway usage shows that runway usage has not changed. Let's refresh the meter. Ceiling is still 1,000 foot, 17 knot wind. The wind has definitely increased a little bit. No mentioning of gusts. Wind still from the south-southwest. I'm going to update the meter into the ticker for you guys so you can read it back if you so wish to do. Air Baltic A220 landed just now. On the premises, one of the Ford Ranger Raptors bird control vehicles who patrol the premises 24/7, 365. Plenty of birds in the vicinity of Schiphol Airport, making sure that no bird strikes take place, or at least try to prevent them from happening as much as possible. Next up is an Easyjet A320 Neo, flight 27840. 1 year old, first flight December 2022, celebrating its first birthday this month. Now I have enabled image stabilizer, but it does not seem to fully negate the vibrations from the wind. When you're standing in an open field with 17 knot wind, you still sometimes see a few bumps, just like you see a few ripples in the water. Definitely looks like it is opening up ever so slowly. Also relatively bright sky if you look to the southwest directly into the wind. Also see a few brave souls standing over there, and I'm not seeing any cars or bicycles. And to get there from the nearest point where you can legally park your car, it is a 20-minute walk or so, just over a mile. I'm also seeing agricultural activity in the distance. Not quite sure what this tractor is doing. It does look racing blue. Must be an Italian thoroughbred, Azzurro. Next up, Boeing 737-700 from KLM, flight 1926, arriving from Geneva. Flight time, I think, around 1 hour and 15 minutes on average. It's a 12-year-old airplane, first flight February 2011. With the one-size-fits-all tail, and because of the stubby fuselage, makes it look disproportionately tall, which you can see particularly well when looking from the side. Now, if you compare that with the tail of the 777-300ER and compare its fuselage length with the height of the tail, it's interesting to see the differences. It's the same with the A380, also has very tall tail, also very wide wings. Next up, a Transavia flight that I will be on in February after having had a wonderful, refreshing ski break. It is Transavia flight 6602, arriving from Innsbruck, 737-800. Now I know for a fact that the flight time on average is 1 hour 10 minutes to 15 minutes, depending on the wind and of course the route that they fly. 6-year-old airplane, first flight April 2017. My flight, however, will be later in the day. Otherwise, if you have to be at the airport a couple of hours beforehand, and if you have to get there from Italy, where I'm going to, you can basically skip sleep that night because you have to leave so early. So my flight will be returning at the beginning of the evening / end of the afternoon. But first, get there and enjoy a break. Don't also have your butt shot coming in. Does look like a clean airplane. Talking about livery not being smudgy. Right, next up, KLM flight 1954, Embraer 190, arriving from Zurich. Flight time 1 hour 15 minutes. I was in time. Russ is all flabbergasted that somebody okayed me going on holiday. Did all of the bosses approve? Oh shit. Well, luckily I have cancellation insurance if need be. For serious reasons, of course. Right, this airplane 9 years old, first flight January 2014. RF asks, do I think that the Polderbahn today departs? No, I do not. Pretty sure that it's going to be arrivals all day. The wind prevailing is from the southwest, so unless that is going to change, and I don't think it is going to, this runway will be used for arrivals all day. Goedemorgen Ben, who is writing in capital letters. Next up is KLM flight 758. It's a 787-10 Dreamliner arriving from Panama City. Flight time no longer mentioned, but definitely 8 hours plus. It's a 4-year-old airplane, first flight October 2019. I'm already clicking on the label of the next airplane, Air Canada flight 808, so that I can at least give you guys details about the flight time. Asks how long I will be going on a holiday for. Just a week, February 3rd until the 10th. Although I am looking to go for a second ski trip in March maybe. Most severe limitation is that I always feel difficulty leaving the cat alone, even though I always make sure kitty care is arranged. That's basically the reason why I don't go on holiday that often. Otherwise, it would have been a more frequent occurrence for me. Now, Air Canada flight 808 up next, arriving from Toronto, Canada, Boeing 787-8. Dreamliner has been flying for 6 hours and 29 minutes as we speak. 8 years old, first flight January 2015. Got a Qatar triple coming that actually shows on flight radar. Yesterday and the day before yesterday we had issues with Qatari triples either not showing on flight radar or flying different routes from what they actually were flying. To me it sounded like an idle reverse landing. The slots were open but no roar. We are going to get a boot shot from Air Canada. All right. Next up, Air Malta A320 Neo, arriving from, let's see, Malta. Surprise. Flight 394 has been flying for 2 hours and 56 minutes. The airplane itself, 3 years old, first flight July 2020. Hey Jindrosek, goedemorgen, guten morgen, bonjour. After this little narrow body snack, we are back to the heavies. The next airplane behind this airplane is a Qatar 777 arriving from Doha. And Aero Mexico also coming up after the triple from Qatar. Yesterday they did make a lot of sound, a lot of noise while reversing during landing. Hoping that today we are going to get the same result, the same outcome. Nice noisy landing. Unlike this quiet as a mouse landing. NED, last part of the registration. Right, let's turn back to the north. Qatar flight 275 up next, arriving from Doha. It's a 777-300ER, has been flying for 6 hours and 30 minutes, precisely according to flight radar. The airplane is 15 years old, first flight was in December 2008, so celebrated its 15th birthday this month. It's not a double triple, there is a 777-200 following, but Aero Mexico is sandwiched in between. Adihan, goedemorgen. Good to see you, mate. Hope all is well. Karsten, morgen. All other viewers who have joined in the meantime, good morning to you all. I hope you are all doing well. I hope, most importantly, that you guys are having fun watching the arrivals over here at Schiphol Airport. With wind blowing from the southwest, which is over there. We can see that it is overcast, but there are some thinner parts in the sky. Ripples in the water. The airplanes are landing from north to south. Visualization of the wind. Chimney smoke. in the Amsterdam port area, northeast of where we are standing, blowing away from us. This is Aeromexico Flight 25, Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner arriving from Mexico City. This airplane has been underway on this flight for 9 hours and 41 minutes as we speak. It is 9 years old and began flying in February of the year 2014. Yesterday, allowed landing, reversers were being applied nicely. Let's see how today is going to be. I would say not too bad, not too bad. Probably better than the next airplane we're going to see. Next up is going to be KLM Flight 644, a 777-200ER arriving from New York JFK. Now, the reverse thrust feature is a bit of a redundant feature on KLM flights, KLM airplanes. The pilots from KLM seldomly use the reverse thrust while landing, which of course is good for fuel consumption, sound, and, well, I mean, in being quiet, noise abatement, and for the people living next to Schiphol, and also for engine longevity, but for us, a bit dull. So this flight from New York JFK has been underway for 6 hours and 19 minutes. This airplane itself is already 20 years old. Began flying in October 2003. Idle reverser, landing, but still smooth as a mofo. Now, another triple from KLM is passing left of me, west of me, has passed just left of me, is flying on the downwind leg, arriving from Cape Town, South Africa. We're also going to see Tarom in a few moments, arriving from Bucharest. Back to a few narrow bodies, so thus far I'm loving the mix between heavies and narrow bodies. Today a 737-800, not the baby bus. I think it was yesterday that the A318 was arriving. Tarom Flight 361, the daily flight between Bucharest and Amsterdam. This airplane now flying for 2 hours and 39 minutes and has been flying for 6 years in total. Began flying in April 2017. And ladies and gentlemen, members, get out your emojis for playtime and for, just to be sure, also the butt shot emoji. The Play A320neo arriving from Reykjavik is now number 3. 2 airplanes behind this Tarom 737. Following this airplane is going to be a 737 from KLM arriving from Paris Charles de Gaulle. Another idle reverse landing. you can see the Dreamliner from Aero Mexico taxiing along the route of trees. That is the taxi route back to the main platform area. Still a 10 or so minute taxi at least to get to the main platform area. You can see the KLM preceding it, also still taxiing. And behind the trees you can see the Qatar triple. That's where they still need to go to. Right, KLM flight 1224 arriving from Paris Charles de Gaulle. Touching down after 15 minutes of flight. 737-800, 15 years old. First flight March 2008. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, members, get out your playtime emojis. It is time again. There she is. Play flight 460, Airbus A320neo, arriving from Iceland, from Reykjavik. The airplane has been flying now for 2 hours and 46 minutes to get from Iceland to the Netherlands and is working as a professional airplane for 6 years now. Began flying in April 2017. And a lovely combination of airplanes following one another. Unfortunately, glide slope shots still not possible due to the low ceiling, but ITA is coming after this, so from bright red to bright blue. The icing on the cake would have been if a DHL A300 would be number 3. Get a nice colorful mix. And don't say I didn't warn you. Get out that butt shot emoji too. Playtime, butt shot, playtime. Here we go. There we go. Indeed, guys. Yeah, well, definitely a few openings with blue. It's brighter than it was yesterday. Also, looking over here, definitely opening up as the morning progresses. Who knows, we might end up in the sunshine. That would be the day. Alright, next up, ITA Airways, flight 120, arriving from Milan. It's a regular A320, has been flying for 1 hour and 29 minutes to get here thus far. 13 years old, its first flight began in 2010 in January. And the second ITA arriving from Rome is 2 airplanes after this one. Sandwiched in between, we have a KLM Embraer 190 arriving from Norwich. Bellissimo! Now, it's not an Italian airplane, but because the registration is Irish. Alright, now little snack in between the Azzurri is KLM E190. Also got the feeling that the wind is slowing down just a little bit, so let's see if we can go without image stabilizer. It does sometimes overshoot and undershoot. You do have more direct camera control without it. KLM flight 1516 is what we are looking at. It is coming back home from Norwich. A short flight just over the North Sea, 235 kilometers as the crow flies. So just, what is that, 120 miles or so? Maybe a bit more. It's just that there's a body of water in between the two cities. Makes the flight time short, 36 minutes. This airplane is 13 years old. Again, flying in August 2010. Next up is ITA Airways with the Rome Expo 2030, and then the text gets cut short. Looks like it is going to be a special sticker or livery. Flight 108 arriving from Rome. I was too late with pressing on the label. The flight time no longer mentioned, but I think around 1.5 hours or so. Paul is saying that the clouds in Leiden are breaking up. That's good news. That is southwest of Schiphol, which means that he is basically my sentinel and is able to give us information of whether what is coming our way. A1 Authority. Not exactly sure what those guys are doing in those vehicles. Right, now let's have a look. The Rome official candidate, World Expo 2030, right. More butt shots, damn it. Here we go. Hey there, Bernd. Morgan. Good to see you. Hope all is well. All other viewers who have tuned in the meantime, welcome to. Let's turn back the camera to the now number 8 worldwide most tracked by nearly 300 people. It is KLM flight 598 777-300ER. Arriving from Cape Town, South Africa. Flight time no longer mentioned, but that's definitely a double-digit hour flight time. 10 or 11 hours or so, at least. I think 10, between 10 and 11? Question mark. 7-year-old airplane, first flight May 2016. I have to be really quick today with pressing on the labels to see the flight time, so I already pressed the Aegean that is coming next. Now, also, last 2 days, we were lucky enough to be the witness of Captain Wheelie's arrival. One or more infamous KLM Embraer 190 pilots that seem to be having a background in military flight and having a fondness for braking aerodynamically. Is that the right term for it? Will we see Captain Wheelie for the 3rd day in a row? Time will tell. Captain Wheelie will not be flying this airplane. It is Aegean Airlines, flight 3624, an Airbus A320neo coming to the Netherlands from Athens. This airplane is now has been flying for 3 hours and 7 minutes to get from Athens to where it is right now. Airplane has been flying for just over a year in total, began flying in November 2022, so last month it celebrated its first birthday. You can still see that the airplanes crab a little bit, but they also do that when there's just a handful of knots of wind blowing, if it's ever so slightly from the west. Jerry says, good night all, going to bed early for your normal day-night rhythm. It was a pleasure to have you on the stream again, Jerry. Sleep tight. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care, my friend. Now, the Aegean already wears its sunglasses. I think that might be a bit premature. Overly optimistic. I'm all still wearing gloves and a parka. You don't see me wearing shorts already. The fact that it might get a bit lighter. Doesn't mean it's already summer. Hey Bart, goedemorgen. And RF1969 says, buen dia para todos. Buen dia to you too. Welcome one and all. Uncle Tom, good morning. Now, it's back to the narrow bodies for the time being. Let's see if we can grab a moment to do another update. I'm not exactly sure. The two 747s should be getting closer by, if I'm not mistaken. Well, let's zoom out a little bit, shall we? Yes, there is the first one already. The 7478 flying downwind to the north, just in front of the coast. Queen number 2. Second of 3 in total. The A340 we already saw, and the A380 is also expected. Last time we checked, its ETA was around 12:45 p.m. local time. It's now just a few minutes before 11, so in an hour and 45 minutes or so, the A380, our last airplane, is going to arrive. Murmuration of birds. 2 murmurations. Murmuration. Right, have to wade through the narrow bodies first. Our next airplane, KLM Flight 1198, Embraer 175, arriving from Stavanger, has been flying for an hour and 10 minutes to get here thus far. 6 years old, first flight January 2017. Ben asks if Captain Wheelie has already passed by. Not yet. So we're still waiting to see if we're going to see him or her for a 3rd day in a row. Absolutely mind-boggling long wheelies. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I made a video, not of yesterday's, but the day before yesterday's wheelie. There's even a playlist of wheelies, most of them containing Captain Wheelie's wheelies. Embraer 175, clearly recognizable, instantly recognizable as well. If you look at the winglets, they're relatively tall, outward pointing. Compare that with the Embraer 190, which has smaller winglets that are oriented nearly vertically. These are clearly outward pointing, so from the front, you can instantaneously see the difference between the two. Also, when you see them from the sides, the fuselage length is also a telltale sign. And if it is a sleek main fuselage and it has big ass engines, it's an E2 Embraer 195. Definitely opening up here and there, so I wasn't kidding when I said maybe by the time of the end of the stream we might actually be in the sun. Sure hope we're going that way. Hadi Liewe, goedemorgen. Good to see you, mate. Hope all is well. Now, might this be Captain Wheelie? It is a KLM Embraer 190. Flight 1142, arriving from Oslo. 15-year-old airplane, first flight October 2008. It is the PHEZA, and I don't recall the registrations of Captain Wheelie, but let's see. No, I think it isn't. Too low already with the nose gear. Yep. No dice. This wasn't him or her. I'm still waiting for that moment that somebody in the comments says, hey, I am Captain Wheelie. Found your videos. How nice. If Captain Wheelie is watching, do let yourself know. Let yourself be known. Alan, good morning, legend. Big Al, also back in the chat. Good to see you, mate. Hope all is well. Little man over here riding his bike. We learn riding a bike at a young age in the Netherlands. Our primary mode of transportation for a lot of people. KLM flight 1002 up next. Coming back home from London Heathrow. Flight time no longer mentioned, but rest assured it is between 40 to 45 minutes on average. Almost a bird strike there with Sally the Seagull. 737-800, 17 years old, first flight April 2006. Alright, so a brand new A350 is incoming apparently. Oh, it's the Corendon A350. Yeah, that is relatively brand new indeed. The hybrid livery. It's been rented to Corendon by World to Fly or something. So it's a hybrid livery. You see the Corendon name on the fuselage. You see the rental companies or lease companies' names and logos on the tail and the engine casings. Now, talking about hybrids, here we have a Transavia flying for KLM, another rental. It's not the latest livery, but the one before it, with the rainbow stripes of the main fuselage. A bit more colorful than the monotonous green that the current standard livery is. And Han was Captain Wheelie 50 years ago while riding the bike. Excellent. Great show, mate. I also tried riding my bike with my eyes closed once when I was little, still in elementary school, and I bumped into a solid concrete pole that badly opened up my thumb. Quickly cured me of the tendency to drive my bike with my eyes closed. You live, you learn. They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Well, I'm not sure if it made me stronger, but it did make me a bit wiser. So, Transavia, but it is flying for KLM, returning from Copenhagen as KLM flight 1126. The airplane, 20 years old, first flight February 2003. Now, let's turn back. Have a look at that A350 that is coming, and behind the A350 is Queen number 2. So, If you guys still want to get a fresh cup of coffee, you're too late. Better worth waiting for the A380s and the 747's landing. So this is Corendon, returning from Willemstad, Curaçao. Rental company is World to Fly, which is the logo you see on the engines and on the tail. Another flight returning from Curaçao in the Caribbean Sea. This airplane has been flying for 8 hours and 41 minutes to get from where it departed to where it is right now. And it is a brand new airplane, according to flight radar, meaning less than a year old. This airplane actually entered service in May this year, so just over half a year old. Get a little butt shot to boot. Quick. Well, F it. I'm going back to the north with the camera already because there is Queen number 2 and the separation is not too big. Number 5 worldwide most followed airplane on flight radar at the moment. 440 people watching this airplane on flight radar as we speak. Now we have a bit more viewers than that. Let's see if we can pump it up to number 1, shall we? This is Atlas Air Flight 5421. It's a Boeing 747-8 arriving from Miami, Florida, where it left from 7 hours and 59 minutes ago. The airplane is 12 years old already, which makes me question when was the first time a 747-8 actually entered service. Gotta love that spooling down sound, that winding down. Fantastic. So this airplane began flying in October 2011 already, making it 12 years old. Makes me wonder how long ago did the first 747s first begin flying. Hey Euro Aviation, morning Mikey. Madeira Aviation Spanning, good morning to you too. All other viewers who have joined in the meantime as well, good morning. You're watching AMS Live. This is the Polderbaan, currently still the only runway in use for arrivals. Atlas Air's Boeing 747-8 now vacating the runway. Corendon A350 in the foreground. It already passed it by. Lovely combo shot here. The second of 3 747s. There is another one coming pretty soon actually, and we are also still waiting for the Emirates A380 that is expected around 1:45 local time. Bottom left of the ticker will show you the current local time. Now, back to the narrow bodies. It is our next airplane is an Embraer 190 arriving from Southampton, KLM flight 916. KLM Embraer 190, so who knows? Might be Captain Wheelie. Yeah, in weeks says 1970. I'm sure that's the first flight for the 747, but this was a 747-8 with the GE and X engines also mounted on the Dreamliner, and I was wondering when the 747-8 first began flying. Obviously the 747-400 or the 747 in general has been around for decades. I was too late with pressing on the label, so the flight time unfortunately I can no longer see. I do see that this airplane began flying in February 2018. 5 years old, in other words. And this too does not seem to be Captain Wheelie. Let's see if we can squeeze in a little update of the big picture. The next airplane coming up in the distance. So let's have a look. Current METAR says that the wind is still 17 knots, still more or less from the same direction, southwest. Ceiling is still 1,000 foot, 10 kilometers plus visibility below the ceiling, few clouds at 800 feet, current runway usage. Okay, one runway in use for departures at the moment, just 24, interesting. The last queen, the third one from Cargolux, also arriving from Miami, is still over London Luton more or less, and the last airplane of the day is the A380 that is in Hungarian airspace just west of Budapest and expected around 12:40 local time, so that's in 1.5 hours from now. Let's quickly go back to the airplane just touching down. Vueling by the looks of it, old livery, the old standard livery. Then I will paste the METAR into the ticker for you guys. Butt shot coming in. Also looks like a little bit of sunshine was poking through the clouds, but short-lived. Right, I was still trying to paste the METAR, the latest METAR into the ticker. Almost there. Adjust the font color and size, and departures just 24. Interesting. I would be inclined to say that is foreboding the opening of a second runway for arrivals then. Now, also, Bernd just now gifted an AMS Live membership, and I see that Bart was the recipient of said membership. Thank you so much for that, Bernd. Welcome back, Bart. You're now in the opportunity to use all the custom emojis freely at your disposal. Feel free to spam us crazy with them. Thank you so much, Bernd. And welcome to the club, Bart. Now, Pegasus A321neo up next. Has already touched down, arriving from Istanbul. That is typically a 3-hour flight. Fly pigs. Oink oink. I do get the impression that we're starting to see the airplanes a bit further ahead in advance. Let me open up a bit the view. Will we be able to see glide slope shots? Pity that Jerry already left. He would have loved to see glide slope shots. Now also a big thank you to Hans, who is celebrating 4 months of membership, 4 months of being an unruly passenger, he writes. Well, thank you so much, Hans, for your continued support. 4 months, they've passed by so quickly. Hope to have you as a valued member on board for many more months to come. Thank you so much for that, Hans. And don't ever stop being unruly. I am something of a shit starter, have been all my life myself, so I know where you're coming from and I fully approve, within the set boundaries of YouTube and the channel guidelines, of course. Alright, JetBlue A321neo arriving from Boston, Massachusetts, touching down almost now. Brand new airplane, began flying in February this year. As I was walking up here early in the morning, I already saw the flight arriving from New York JFK. So this is the only JetBlue we are going to see land here today. 2 flights, Boston and JFK. Imagine being sat in a narrow body for 6.5 hours or so. Kudos to the passengers for sticking out so long. Now, Hans also just now gifted 10 memberships. Thank you so much for that, Hans. You really shouldn't have, but I am very thankful nonetheless. Thank you so much, Hans. And if you just received one of the memberships that Hans gifted, don't forget to say thank you. Welcome to the Aurora Sky Lounge, those new members. And Hans, thank you so much once again for 10 new members. Next up, Austrian. Flight 379, it's an A320 arriving from Vienna. Flight time no longer mentioned, but probably around 1 hour 15 minutes or so. The airplane itself, 15 years old, began flying in May of the year 2008. Popular year for airplanes to start flying. Orange Pride, the PHBVD, Chucky, they're all from 2008. So it is in good company. And what the F is this? Are you guys seeing what I am seeing over here? For a moment, for a brief moment, I was standing in the sun over here. Actually, full sunshine. That copper sphere does actually exist. The rumors are true. Hey, Yin Cathay Spotter also in the house. Good to see you, mate. Welcome back. Hope you're doing well. I also see that the first airplane to center is now on the glide slope. So closure of 18 left. A secondary runway for departures did indeed forebode the opening of center for arrivals, parallel arrivals taking place. Now, let's see, it's 11:17, 11. Always the question of will the A380 land on Polderbaan or not. Last week we have been very fortunate. 3 days in a row we've seen it land on Polderbaan. Now we also saw that from this point of view, even with the heavens are opening up. Beautiful. Johannes ladders are what they are called in Dutch. Not sure if there's English equivalent for it. Those rays of light emanating from between the clouds. Now, even if the A380 were to land on the center runway, from this point of view, when visibility is decent, and it certainly is better than it was yesterday, we can still see quite well the airplane. This is fully zoomed in with optical zoom. Add to that a bit of digital zoom, and you can definitely still see plenty. I have digital zoom disabled though. Prefer not to use it and not to keep it open when possible, but that is still a possibility if need be. Now, are those also called Jacob's ladders in English? If it is, then that is a coincidence. Makes it easy to remember. A320neo from Easyjet arriving from Geneva up next. Flight 27866. I was about to say 88, but it is 866. Whoever thought of 5-digit flight numbers? Looks shiny. You can still see relatively well through the engines. You can see the high bypass. Macro overview. This is what it looks like looking to the south. You can see here and there a few openings in the clouds. Not a lot of people over here. The wind is coming from this direction. This is the southwest. This is looking straight to the west. You can definitely see here and there bits of blue. Nothing substantial yet, but who knows what might become. Looking to the east, back looking to the north now. Our next airplane, Iberia Express, arriving from Madrid, Airbus A320, flight 3722. Flight time no longer mentioned. I was too late with pressing on the label. Stupid glitch. Flight radar not showing the flight duration when you're too late. 16-year-old airplane, first flight October 2007. Easy muff. Easy muff. Alright, now let's see. Planes going to center. Does look like the Easyjet arriving from Gatwick is coming this way. Are they going to do a runway inspection then? The lighting is something special right now. Temporarily. Will change soon enough probably. It does make it look more nebulous than I think it actually is. Now, about enabling the digital zoom for a little bit. There we go. Airplane's already visible further ahead than yesterday. now have digital zoom enabled over optical zoom, so zooming in further but just magnifying pixels, so it's not as sharp as would otherwise be the case, but it does allow to show more details with reasonable resolution of airplanes landing on the center runway. So even if the A380 were to be directed to the center runway later, we would still be able to see quite a lot of details from this point of view. Yesterday also, very lovely approach of a Qatar 777 to center, just grazing the clouds, resulting in beautiful wing fluff and, well, no vortices actually, but lovely wing fluff for a couple of minutes actually. High humidity does allow to see that. Then this is stalker mode. You can see the magnification of pixels. It really becomes a blurry image. Hey, Paul. Morning, mate. My pedigree chum, Yorkshire biker, has returned to the chat. Good to see you, mate. Hope all is well. Over here, you can see weather is a bit better than it was yesterday. Right, the next airplane to Polderbaan is an A319 Easyjet arriving from London Gatwick, which I'm currently struggling to find. I think there it is. Yeah. That ceiling is still hindering visibility further to the north, even though looking directly up over here there is a big chunk of blue sky actually. So slowly but surely things are opening up more and more. Hopefully it's going to result in better visibility of the glide slope. For now we'll have to make do with what we can see, and what we've seen so far I think hasn't been disappointing yet. Easyjet A319 arriving from London Gatwick, flight 28679. Flight time 46 minutes, 12-year-old airplane, first flight January 2011. And let's see, I am thinking the last queen should also be getting closer by to the Netherlands. Multitasking, trying to zoom out while also not trying to lose sight of the airplane. 747 is still approximately halfway over the North Sea between UK and the Netherlands. So plenty of other airplanes that we are going to be able to focus on before the 747 becomes relevant. Right, parallel arrivals take place right now. Things are opening up ever so slowly. Prevailing wind still from the southwest and has been around 17 knots now for a while. Let me quickly dive behind the computer and update the ticker in terms of runway usage. So departures 24, arrivals 18 right and 18 Charlie. All right. KLM 737-800 arriving from Manchester. I think it's also time for me to grab that. Nice lighting, and actually a little bit of sunshine, however brief it was. Let me try to get rid of some of the reflections on my camera screen. Little protector. Wasn't necessary with overcast conditions. Now it is actually getting a bit lighter. Right. Got a German Airways Embraer 190 flying for KLM, arriving from Glasgow, that we are seeing right now. Flying as KLM flight 1472. Left Glasgow an hour and 3 minutes ago. The airplane is 17 years old. First flight was in January 2006. And behind it is a countdown flight number. KLM flight 765. Airbus A330-200 arriving from Bonaire. Already trying to see visually if I can spot the A330. You'd think that at some point we would also start seeing more of the glide slope, maybe see 2 airplanes instead of just 1. And why is that grass so bright green? That is the sun actually coming out. Look at that. Also illuminating the airplane. Beautiful. No sooner have I said that and the wind is picking up. Hey. Were you guys hearing that too? That were reversers being applied. Is that a true KLM pilot, or are they also leasing the pilots? KLM pilots don't do that, use the reversers. Now, in the meantime, parallel arrivals still take place. Transavia 737 on the glide slope to center. Another emergency service vehicle. An ambulance this time. Yesterday it was a firefighter. And this is KLM flight 765, countdown flight number, Airbus A330-200 arriving from Bonaire. Flight time 8 hours and 31 minutes. The airplane is rather old, 18 years. Not the youngest of A330s. The airplane began flying in July 2005. Now I've seen it all, I can die peacefully now. KLM using reverse thrust on one of the machines that is so well equipped for using it. The A330. Terrific. Now, also a big thank you to Austrian Wolf. Herr Wolf, thank you so much for just now gifting 5 AMS Live memberships. Amazing. Totally unnecessary. You're doing more than enough for the channel as it is already as a moderator. So totally uncalled for. Very much valued nonetheless. Thank you so much. And also, if you just were the recipient of one of the memberships that were gifted by Austrian Wolf, don't forget to say Dankeschön. Thank you so much, Austrian Wolf. Welcome to the Aurora Sky Lounge, those 5 new members. Now, let me turn back the camera. And also try to replace the battery of my glove, which just went cold. Our next airplane arriving is an E2 Embraer 195 from KLM, arriving from Newcastle. We're going to see an A320neo behind it. Sleek body, big ass engines. That is the E2 Embraer 195, very easily recognizable. No winglets. Have they been listening? And have they decided they wanted to start using the reversers here too? Amazing. Great. Let's quickly turn back with the camera to the north. Our next airplane is an Easyjet A320neo arriving from Geneva. And let me grab that backup battery, hook that up. In you go, into the cuff, close the zipper, turn on the heating elements and the glove, and we should be good to go again. Ciao Luca! Benvenuto! Long time no see, tuning in all the way from Italy. Now, 2 narrow bodies, including this one. After that we are going to see another Dreamliner from TUI, another airplane coming back from Curacao. Very popular destination, a lot of flights back and forth between Amsterdam and Willemstad, Curacao. And if the wind keeps picking up again, I will turn on image stabilizer after this landing has completed. Otherwise you guys might get seasick and I don't want that. Alright, back in the menu, image stabilizer enabled. There we go. I'll get back to the main picture. Sneaking up on us, the bird controller, K2. I'm waving and I'm getting ignored. Totally focused on the job, apparently. In the meantime, Embraer 190 not containing Captain Wheelie has just landed, arriving from Luxembourg. KLM flight 1740. More butt shots, damn it. Alright. TUI Dreamliner coming in next. Coming back from Willemstad, Curaçao. Let's zoom out a little bit. Still not being able to make out the number 2. Let me crouch behind me. Look on the laptop screen. No, you guys are also not seeing it. TUI flight 395, Boeing 7878 Dreamliner, coming back home from Willemstad, Curaçao. One of the 3 Dutch registered Dreamliners, the PHTFM, 8 years old, first flight March 2015. I did hear a little bit of reverse action in the beginning. Sadly, it was short-lived. Hey Lance, morning mate. Hope all is well. Good to see you again. Also good to see the sun shining again every now and then. Next up, an airplane returning from the party island Ibiza, Transavia flight 5672. Oh, well, I was about to give you guys a wave via my shade, but the sun already behind the clouds again. Transavia flight 5672, 737-800, arriving from Ibiza, flight time 2 hours 14 minutes. An 8-year-old airplane that began flying in April of the year 2015. Let's see, 3 more KLM Embraer 190s after this airplane. Where did I leave my 737? There it is. Giant coin stack is already giving us the heads up that the Cargolux 747 is also getting closer by. The last of the 3 queens that we are going to see in this show. We already saw the A340-300. We already saw 2 queens. One 747-400, one 747-8. Another 747-400 is coming. The last airplane of the day, the A380, expected. Last time I checked, I think it was a 1:45, 12:45 or so local time. Somewhere between 12:30 and 1. And indeed, it is the Cargolux now, number 4 on the glide slope actually. And Lance asks, asks if I got Rembrandt to paint the sky for me this morning. No, mate. He's been dead for quite a while. Haven't you heard? Yeah, but that's definitely... You get why those classical painters loved painting those Dutch cloudy skies. We've seen it over here so many times before already. The weather can be quite shitty. And it can also be very magnificent to watch. Particularly when there are showers about. Absolutely gorgeous. Right, we can already see sunglasses on this airplane. No need to look in flight radar. We can see that this is one of the rentals from German Airways. Haven't seen Chucky in a while. I believe someone the other day mentioned in the chat that Chucky was stationed somewhere in Germany and hasn't moved for quite a while. Hope that we can still see it before the lease contract or rental contract expires. I believe that the German Airways Embraers we're set to continue flying for KLM until the winter season ends, and that is probably end of winter, beginning of spring. Duh. Tiger 74, herzlich willkommen. Good to see you again. Hope all is well. Your timing is impeccable. Impeccable is... I'm starting to get hungry, can you guys tell? Embraer 190 arriving from Brussels up next. Long flight, 165 kilometers, so that is just shy, no, that's just over 100 miles. You cannot even climb to a proper cruising altitude. Probably stuck at 20 to 25,000 foot. After having reached the top of climb, they have to initiate the top of descent and start preparing for landing already. Und hallo der Manfred, who is cooking with meinem Enkelkind. Herzlich willkommen beide. Habt Spaß. Hope you guys enjoy. Hopefully the arrival of the Queen will be noisy. Next up, KLM flight 1754, Embraer 190 arriving from Bremen. 40 minutes of flight time. The airplane is 14 years old. Behind it should be the third and last queen of today's show. Cargolux 747-400 arriving from Miami. I'm widening the shot to see if maybe we can spot it already. See if it opens up. Unfortunately, I'm also crouched behind the laptop right now to see what you guys are seeing on a bigger screen without reflections, but we don't seem to be having any luck today in that respect. So let's quickly see if this might be Captain Wheelie actually returning. That would be a good reason to stick with the landing for the duration of it. Oh, that's a promising start. No, it isn't. Alright, back to the business at hand. Queen number 3 just became visible. Cargolux 747-400 arriving from Miami, Florida. She's been flying on this flight for 8 hours and 3 minutes as we speak, and the lady has been flying in total now for 16 years. Also relatively young for 747-400s. First flight of this airplane was in May 2007. Let's see if it's going to be a loud landing. I sure am hoping for one. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's the good stuff we wanted to hear. Now, definitely drop a like if you are liking this and haven't done so already. If you want to stay informed of upcoming live streams, your best bet is to subscribe and hit the bell icon. You're not doing it for me, you're doing it for yourself. That way YouTube will inform you of any streams I plan in the future. Look at that, the spoilers have lowered and they're already retracting the flaps. They're not mucking about. And now the taxi to the cargo part of the main platform area begins. That is adjacent to runway 0624, the Kaagbaan. That's on the south end of the main platform area. The main platform area itself is a 10-minute taxi from where this airplane still is. Our little Kestrel buddy is also back hovering, looking for food. The hands are off the camera. This is just the bird flying perfectly still, like a helicopter. The other day we saw it catch a mouse, was trying to enjoy its lunch at this lamppost or whatever it is, but then it flew away just as I was ready to zoom in with digital zoom to see if it was Pinky or the brain that it caught. Probably Pinky. Brain is probably too smart for that. Now we're waiting for dessert, the arrival of the Emirates A380. Last time I checked flight radar, it was expected to arrive around 1:45, so in an hour or so from now. In the meantime, we will have to enjoy ourselves with the airplanes that arrive in between. Now, our next airplane is definitely one that we can enjoy. KLM flight 676 arriving from Edmonton, Canada. It's a 777-200ER that has been flying on this flight for 7 hours and 32 minutes as we speak, and has been flying in total for 19 years. Began flying in November 2004. Yo! Hey! Mooi, leuk man! Wat zeg je?
Spreek jij het in of niet?
Ik spreek het in, ja ja. Tenminste, dit is live.
Horen ze dit nu?
Dit horen ze nu. Tenminste, ik weet niet of ze jullie horen, maar mij horen ze wel. Two boys walking on the cycling path here. One showing his mobile phone, showing the stream. They're watching the content as they were walking by. And one of the guys asked, Are you doing the voiceover? And he was asking, are they hearing this right now? So yes, they are. Right, next up is another Transavia airplane flying for KLM. And the two lads over there Alright. Next up is going to be a Transavia current standard livery that has been rented out to KLM, returning from Dublin. I'm also looking left of me because since it is opening up a little bit, there's also a Dreamliner arriving from Rio de Janeiro, flying on the downwind leg. I'm trying to see if I can spot it, but no dice. No such luck today. We have to wait for better weather. Now, the solstice is upon us next week or so, 22nd, at which stage the days are lengthening again on the northern hemisphere. So slowly but surely moving towards better weather. Right, SAS A320 arriving from Oslo coming up next, and yeah, unfortunately, oh wait, hey, there is a triple, I think, departing. That's a triple, Chinese triple, probably on its way to Shanghai. Well, and that's probably the last we have seen of it. Right, let's focus on the next airplane then. The next airplane, not yet visible, but soon will be. SCS Flight 821. Airbus A320 arriving from Oslo. There it is. Breaking the ceiling. Has been flying for an hour and 25 minutes as we speak. 16-year-old airplane. First flight of this airplane was in May 2007. Now, the Dreamliner arriving from Rio de Janeiro is still flying off the coast to the north on the downwind leg. Looks like there is going to be a little break after this airplane. Looks like the next airplane is going to be a Sun Express 737 that is now flying base, arriving from Izmir, Turkey from the east. Not very densely spaced. In the meantime, good morning to you all. Just still a few more minutes of morning here. The sun actually getting a few more opportunities to shine. Let him take the stage. I'm all for that. Hey Gosse, goedemorgen kerel. Good to see you. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday. Hope everybody is, of course. A little bit of sun illuminated bright grass. Nice effect. Ah, uitgeslapen, nice. Insofar as you are still able to do that, with the alarm going off early almost every day. I find it hard that when you are able to sleep in, you're struggling to do so. Now, And that's even without having children. You of course also probably get woken up early often. Now our next airplane is going to be the Sun Express 737 arriving from Izmir, which I don't see visually just yet. It does look like that after that airplane it is going to be more tightly packed again. Dreamliner arriving from Rio de Janeiro, Embraer 175 arriving from Newcastle. Hey, 2 Sun Expresses actually. The first one from Izmir on the glide slope, now number 1. And another one arriving from Kayseri or Kayseri. Not sure where to put the emphasis exactly on that name. Han has to go. That is very unfortunate, Han. You'll be missing out on the arrival of the A380, but I am sure to highlight it if you want to look at it at a later stage. Thanks for joining. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, Han. Hope to see you again on the next one. And you also don't need to timestamp it because it's going to be the last airplane of the show, so just scroll to the end and you will be able to see it. Hey, look at that, ladies and gentlemen. We're even able, where is it, to make out a contrail twin jet flying north of me and east of me already on a west to east course. People on the moped that were standing still here for a moment and decided to drive along further to the north. In the meantime, our next airplane has become visible. 737-800 arriving from Izmir, Turkey, Sun Express. Dreamliner behind it, still not visible. 1 airplane glide slope shots it is. It still is, I should say. Sun Express flight 944 arriving from Izmir, Turkey. A 13-year-old airplane that began flying in August 2010. Mrs. Professor also announces it's bedtime for her. Thank you so much for joining, Mrs. Professor. Always a pleasure to have you in the chat. Sleep tight and enjoy the rest of the week. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Now, Sun Express does have a few gnarly special liveries that also sometimes visit Schiphol. Not quite sure if the next one arriving from Kayseri or Kayseri is one of those. We'll see eventually. Does look like at the moment, once again, this runway is the only runway in use for arrivals, which I'm not sure I should be happy about, because that probably means that by the time the A380 is in Dutch airspace, 18C is going to reopen sometime soon. Hadi Wietse, goedemiddag. Indeed a flying AMS Live logo, but it is a counterfeit. The curvature is not curvy enough to be a real flying AMS Live logo. It is KLM flight 706 though, arriving from Rio de Janeiro, touching down after 10 hours and 44 minutes of flight time. It's a 7879 Dreamliner. Or did I see that incorrectly? noisy, a little wheelie, a bit of everything. Not excelling in any of the two particularly, but definitely a bit of both. And indeed it was a 787-9 that we saw. Began flying in January 2018, 5 years old in other words. Alright, next up is the Embraer 175 from KLM arriving from Newcastle. Can we see it already? Yes, the answer is yes. Albeit a bit vaguely. KLM flight 962. Embraer 175, flight time 52 minutes. It's a 6-year-old airplane that began flying in January 2017. I am once again hearing an ambulance or something, but I'm not seeing it. Behind this Embraer 175 we should see that second Sun Express 737. I'm widening the shot once again. Let me have a look. Crouch behind the laptop. No, still not seeing it, unfortunately. I think this is not the day for 2 or more glide slope shots. Visibility still too limited, too restricted. Now let me also see if we can squeeze in another update of everything. No reverser landing whatsoever. The slots stay closed. The slots stay shut. They're not slots, they're shuts. Now the next Sun Express arriving from Kayseri looks like a standard livery according to flight radar. 737-800, 9-year-old airplane, first flight October 2014. Narrow bodies, narrow bodies, narrow bodies. Well, the airplane does seem to be pointing its nose a little bit right off the center line, a bit towards us. It does look like the wind has turned and become ever more southerly, less westerly. Just based on the airplane behavior. Still very much ripply water over here, looking at the chimney smoke in the port area. Insofar as we can see it, it still does look like the smoke is blowing away from us. Camera now oriented at a roughly 45-degree angle versus the runway heading. Would indicate a more southwesterly wind. Next up is a KLM 737-900 arriving from Paris Charles de Gaulle, flight 1230. A 22-year-old airplane that began flying in August of the year 2001. And hey there, Amsterdam Aviator. We spoke yesterday, didn't we? Cool. Hope you're doing well. bit warmer today than it was yesterday, luckily. The sun even coming out from behind the clouds now and then. What a contrast with yesterday, when at moments it looked like it was twilight. Lovely reflection on the liveries of both airplanes visible here. More airplanes coming up. We do seem to be having a little break in between. Time to crouch behind the laptop and let's delve into the current status quo. Starting off with flight radar, we can see that our last airplane of the day is entering the west of Germany and is expected to arrive in 30 minutes from now. Keeps changing, but it is approaching Dutch airspace. I am a bit hesitant to say it's going to land on Polderbaan. This is the current status quo, but who knows, it might change in the period between now and the arrival. Wind, again, still it's increasing, almost 20 knots. It is blowing from the south-southwest mostly. Not much has changed in terms of the precipitation or the temperature. Let me quickly follow the landing and then update the ticker with the meter for you guys. This is an Embraer 190 arriving from Helsinki, Finland. Obviously not piloted by Captain Wheelie. Squeaky brakes and a butt shot. That's Embraers for you. Right, copy, paste and adjust the font, size and color. We have the updated weather in the ticker right now for you guys. Was runway usage still accurate? I think it was. Anyway, let's turn back the camera. Transavia flight 6820 up next. Arriving from Ljubljana in Slovenia. (737-800) touching down after 1 hour and 33 minutes of flight. The airplane itself, 21 years in service, began flying in April 2002. So that's also already quite a while back. 2002. I was still in my second year at university for the first study that I did. Next up is going to be a KLM 737-800 arriving from Rome, and it's going to be followed by an E2 Embraer 195 arriving from Hamburg. It does look like we would be able to see glide slopes, but unfortunately the cloudiness lower is still very persistent, very stubborn, unfortunately. In the meantime, I am once again standing in the sun here, actually opening up nicely. Except for the part in the sky that we can normally see glide slope shots in. Well, it is what it is. And what this is KLM flight 1598. Returning home from Rome. 737-800. On this flight it has been flying now for 1 hour and 57 minutes according to flight radar. The airplane itself, even older than the one we saw from Transavia just now. That was from 2002. This one is from the year 2000. 23 years old. Began flying in June that year. So that was the summer for me between graduating from high school and starting at university. Holy moly, thinking about it like that makes you realize that this is quite an old airplane already. Also makes you realize that you are yourself becoming an old fart slowly but surely. Right, now folks, we are going to stick around until the Emirates A380 has landed. Regardless of which runway it is going to land on, it's probably going to be this runway or the center runway. Wouldn't be surprised if center reopens just before the airplane enters Dutch airspace. We're going to see soon enough. It is expected in just under half an hour from now. You don't have to be anywhere, go anywhere. Definitely worth sticking around for. We have been on a streak this week where the A380 landed on Polderbaan at least the last 3 days in a row. And Wilma is saying something that is very true. If you stay young in your heart, you will never get old. Absolutely true. Also, going to the gym helps quite a lot in staying young from the outside as well. Also, not smiling a lot helps a lot to save your face from getting wrinkly. That's why people who suffer from chronic depression often seem younger than they actually are, unless their lifestyles to cope with their struggles is really unhealthy. But I'm digressing. Next up is a KLM Embraer 175 flight 1060 arriving from Cardiff. There it is. Again, picking a bit of a wider field of view. Still hoping we might at some point before the end of the stream catch a 2 airplane glide slope. Still not seeing anything other than the 1 airplane. It's like that one time a couple of weeks ago that I was filming next to the runway, the Buitenveldebaan near Mecca's. All around me the sky was blue, but I was standing under the one cloud that it was pouring from. Over here, looking around me, a lot of the sky is blue in the meantime. You can see the sun is out, you can see it clearly, but now Dirk is mentioning that Bezoekbas predicts that 18C is going to open at 12:40 now. That seems completely logical. That seems completely in line with what we have seen so many times before. Means I'll activate digital zoom on top of the optical zoom and show you guys the best A380 that we can see from over here. Mind you, this camera can zoom in quite a lot and still produce decent footage. So I'm not too worried about that, but of course it would have been nicer if we also got the audio from the landing up close. That's the most important thing you're missing out on, actually. Next up is Vueling flight 8309 arriving from Barcelona, A320neo. Flight time no longer mentioned, but I think it's around 2 hours. And the airplane has been flying in total now for 4 years. First flight was in March 2019. Hey, what is it doing? That was some serious banking that I did not expect to see so short before touching down. Was that a gust of wind? Almost certainly must have been. Again, I said it before yesterday, after being done streaming and having walked back to the car park while loading up the car with my equipment, 2 consecutive go-arounds took place. While at the time of streaming we saw none. So weird things do sometimes take place unexpectedly. Look at that, you can beautifully see through those engines, the Neos, particularly the E2 Embraers and the A220s. We're also starting to see the departures from runway 24 a bit better. Is that a 737? If I had to call it, I would say it's a 737. Alrighty. Wind shear, right, well, that definitely was an unexpected bit of banking that we saw just now. No go around though. Next up, Embraer 190, KLM arriving from Düsseldorf, JD's hometown. Short flight, KLM flight 1856. 185 kilometers, so that's 110, 120 miles or so. 110 perhaps? 115 miles or so, I think, doing some quick math. So as the crow flies, one of the closest by cities that City Hopper flies to. 14 years old, first flight July 2009. More butt shots coming in. Hey, that is good news, Paul. Yorkshire Biker just now mentions that the A380 actually confirmed to land at Polderaan. That is very good news. So that's going to be a 4-day streak of seeing it land on this very runway. Terrific news. Big picture wise, look at how things are opening up. This is looking to the west. Wind is definitely not slowing down though. This is looking to the north. This is looking to the east, and this is looking to the south. The wind is coming from this direction more or less. That's also, if you look up where the clouds are coming from, no discrepancy between the wind speed on ground level and on higher levels today. And the next airplane is another Embraer 190. This one is from Lot, another airplane arriving from Warsaw, flight 263. 5-year-old airplane, first flight December 2018. Not a lot of glide slope shots, but we hopefully were able to compensate that a little bit today with plenty of butt shots. More Embraers arriving from Poland, but not before K2 passes by. And again, I'm waving, and like a true stoic, the bird controller today watches in front of him. No worries. Important stuff that they're doing. So this is KLM flight 1272 arriving from, and I recall that Bart from V1 Aviation told me how to pronounce it, but I still don't remember. Wrocław or something? That city in Poland. The airplane returning is an Embraer 175, 7 years old, first flight May 2016. Little bit. No, I thought I heard reverses. It was wishful thinking. Right. We have a Transavia 737 and a Dreamliner 787-10 behind it. I'm opting again for, oh hey, yeah, I do see the Dreamliner now. First time we have a 2 airplane glide slope shot since we went live to this morning. Finally starting to open up sufficiently to see more than one airplane, however vague the second airplane was just now. Transavia flight 6148 now touchdown, arriving back home from Alicante in Spain. Almost Embraer-like squeaky brakes. Overshooting the exit a little bit, but still establishing a glide slope shot. Barely. Alright, now quickly back to the north. Got a Dreamliner coming in. KLM flight 622, 787-10 Dreamliner, returning home from Atlanta, Georgia. Flight time for this flight 7 hours and 24 minutes as we speak, and the Dreamliner began flying in 2020 in May, making it a 3-year-old vehicle. Landing in the sun and in the wind. Have to zoom out quite substantially to show the full length of the airframe when it passes by. Same with the 777s. When you see them from this angle or from the front, they look surprisingly smaller than they actually are. Right, next up is going to be an A319 from Easyjet arriving from Prague, from the Czech Republic. There we go. Embraer 175 arriving from Humberside. Behind it, Iceland Air Flight 500, the MAX 8 probably the first of two. Number 3, got a Ryanair arriving from Dublin, also flying to the north. We'll be entering the glide slope as number 5 presumably. And we actually are able to follow a departure from runway 24 a bit more extensively if I am able to pick it up. Oh, that is a KLM 737 by the looks of it. Wow, the stream that has it all. The entire quad squad, glide slope shots, contrails, departures, and a very, very bustling chat throughout. Hope you guys are still having fun. This is Easyjet flight 27928 Airbus A319 arriving from the Czech Republic, where it left from an hour and 15 minutes ago. Austrian registered, Alpine on ATC, 14 years old, first flight January 2008. No, 2009, apologies. Now looking at flight radar, it does look like the Iceland Air is relatively closely behind the Embraer 175 that is up next. Hopefully that is just perception. Probably is, because looking visually does look like somewhat normal separation. Well, a 2 airplane glide slope shot. Who would have thought at the beginning of the stream that we were going to end up with this? Hey, also seeing another contrail.
Ik ben Evelyn.
Hi, ik ben boy.
Ik heb goed nieuws, de A380 gaat landen op deze wet.
Ik hoorde het, ja, goed nieuws inderdaad. Dus dat wordt de 4e dag achter elkaar.
Dat is echt nice. Ja, nog
Super.
Geen Captain Wheelie, helaas.
Sorry?
Nog geen Captain Wheelie.
Nog geen Captain Wheelie, nee. Ja goed, wie weet.
Wie weet.
Maar we zagen hem wel gisteren en eergisteren. Dat was,
Is dit een Embraer? Ja, toch?
ja, een 75.
Geen Captain Wheelie dus.
Geen Captain Wheelie, waarschijnlijk niet.
Waarschijnlijk op die andere kaart dan.
Oh, dat zou kunnen. Heb je het niet ijskoud intussen? Ik sta hier met verwarmde handschoenen aan en met een regenbroek en alles aan.
Ja.
En je zit de hele tijd zitten jullie op het bankje.
Ja, en mijn benen zijn echt...
Je moet eigenlijk gewoon even op, ja precies, je moet eventjes op en neer lopen over het fietspad. Ja, nee, het is verraderlijk frisjes nog als je de hele tijd stilstaat of zit. Just having a little chat here with Evelyn, who is also a regular viewer and has come to the Polderbaan today to do some spotting. And she was sitting on the bench a bit further up ahead for most of the time. Now I'm standing here all the time, and over here you're constantly being exposed to the wind, to the elements, and it can get chilly relatively soon. So it's always good to keep the blood flowing, walk up and down the cycling path or do some jumping jacks or something, because you will get cold relatively soon. Now, Iceland Air Flight 500, one of the MAX 8s with a light blue accent on the front side of the tail. Now, Not everybody likes to be on camera, but if you want to wave to the people, would you mind?
I don't mind.
You don't mind? Well, in that case, let me go to autofocus, and Evelyn can also say hi to everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
I always ask because not everybody likes to be on camera. Always be very careful with that. Respect people's privacy, but...
Even mars? Ik heb een mars niet bij me. Ik ga gewoon niet op mars.
Oh nee joh, nee, dank je. Besides, I cannot eat while streaming. That would make some noises that some people would get really angry about. Misophonia, it's called. When you cannot stand the sound of people eating. Right, now we're waiting for the arrival of the Emirates A380. It was already assigned to the polderbaan, that we know. Trying to, well, while following the airplane that is arriving, I'm also trying to see where it is. Oh, someone with a radio controlled car over here. If you're wondering what you're hearing, that's a radio controlled car. And the Emirates A380 is now in the vicinity of Hoorn, crossing over Markermeer, so it will be arriving pretty soon. And the Turkish Airlines A321 over here. Little butt shot over there. Now let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like the Emirates A380 is going to be 6 or 7 or so. Have to wait through a couple of narrow bodies first. The next one is going to be this Ryanair flight 420 Boeing 737-800. Arriving from Dublin and has flown now 748 kilometers. It said 747 just now. Made me giggle momentarily. The airplane is 19 years old. Its first flight was in October 2004. I always like 737s from Ryanair when they land, because they often use the reversers, as you guys undoubtedly heard just now. And the 737, while a very prevalent and boring airplane to some, is actually very exciting when it comes to the sound of the reversers. Can make a gnarly reverser sound. Ja, dat was gewoon maximaal de reverser. Dat was, daarom ik zei het net, Ryanair vind ik altijd fijn. Die maken een hoop herrie.
Like I said, welcome, thank you for flying with Ryanair. We always land on time.
We always land on time and we make sure you know this. Right, next up. Easyjet A319 arriving from Bristol. Flight time 55 minutes as we speak. 12 years old, first flight July 2011. And another chance for Captain Wheelie to possibly land after this airplane. It is another Embraer 190 arriving from Billund. Could be him or her. Captain Wheelie, of course, could also be a female pilot. In fact, I would like that even better. K2 will be photobombing from the right. this is the G-EZUR. We were still waiting for the coming of Jesus. We saw G-EZUR, I think, and G-EZUR. No, G-EZUR. It was G-EZUR. G-EZUR. The G-E-Z-U-R. G-EZUR. G-EZUR. Alright, next up is going to be KLM flight 1342 in the SkyTeam livery. It is an Embraer 190 arriving from Billund. Flight time 55 minutes as we speak. The airplane is 11 years old. Its first flight was in April 2012. Shamrock A320 behind it. 737 from KLM behind it. And I think the A380 is going to be number 4 behind it. Yeah, the Top Air Portugal probably is going to continue to the north. There it is. The SkyTeam liveried Embraer 190. Big Al says, catch you later, mate. I sure hope that you aren't leaving minutes before the A380 touches down, the last airplane of the day. That would be a very unfortunate timing. Well, apparently snow in Billund. Looking at the nose of this airplane. Unfortunately, no record-breaking wheelies. We do get a little butt shot to boot. Alrighty, Shamrock coming in next. No retro liveries, unfortunately. We saw that one yesterday and also not too long before then. Wonderful. Well, could be either, Paul. Could be either. Shamrock flight 604 returning from Dublin, or at least returning to the Netherlands from Dublin. It's not returning home, of course. A320, flight time 1 hour and 9 minutes as we speak. 16-year-old airplane, first flight June 2007. Well, at some point in the future, this might actually also will be considered a retro livery. Aer Lingus, of course, already has a new iteration of their standard livery. Few more iterations from now, and this is going to be considered classical Aer Lingus. Still, me personally, I'm more a fan of what we consider retro liveries today, with the black tipped noses, the stripes along the windows. Now, last airplane of the day is already visible in the top left quadrant. The now number 2. The Emirates A380, and what a timing, because I think I see that a 737 arriving from Frankfurt is going to be the first airplane to actually land on the center runway, which will open or has opened up right now. So we're dodging bullets here. with the A380 coming to this runway. Very lucky with that. This is KLM flight 1354. For some reason, the number 6 worldwide most tracked by 300 people, arriving from the Czech Republic, from Prague. The landing has taken place. I'm going to focus back on the last airplane of the day. It is, of course, the Emirates A380 Super. At the moment, the number 2 worldwide most tracked, followed by 1,008 people. Can we make it number 1? I'm not sure what the number 1 is doing in terms of numbers. Emirates flight 147, the daily flight between Dubai and Amsterdam. It's the Emirates A380 in the old standard livery. Our members have access to the latest iteration of the standard livery. At some point we will see that become the new norm, the ribbon tail. Flight time for this airplane, 6 hours and 55 minutes today. On average, normally speaking, at this point in the sky, it would have flown for 6.5 hours. So it had a few bouts of headwind underway. Did have, I should say. The airplane is 8 years old. First flight was August 2015. And for the 4th day in a row, we are going to see it land on Polderbaan. No need to enable digital zoom in addition to the optical zoom, because we will need to zoom out to see this mofo in full. Hadi Marissa, just in time indeed for the Beast of the East. What a timing. The sun is out. The wind even seems to be calming down a little bit for the occasion. Right, I'm going to shut up now. Let's look and listen. Last airplane of the day. Oh yeah. That did not sound too bad, did it? Now folks, if you haven't dropped a like yet, but you did like what you saw and heard just now, don't forget to drop another like into the pond of likes. If you like stuff like this and you want to stay informed of when I'm going live in the future, be sure to hit the bell icon and subscribe, or subscribe first and then hit the bell icon. You're not doing it for me, you're doing it for yourself, so that you get informed when I'm going live again. I think the next stream is going to be on Thursday if the weather will allow me to do so. And now the taxi back to the main platform area begins. Luckily the A380 is always gated near where this taxi road ends and enters the main platform area. So in 10 or so minutes they are probably at the gate. The passengers can get out and enjoy beautiful Netherlands. I hope you guys had fun. I certainly did have a lot of fun today with the stream, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one. I am going to wrap it up now, and I want to say a big thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in and sticking with us. There are a lot of choices where you can look and see airplanes live. Always nice that you guys chose this channel. Thank you so much for that. Thanks to everyone who became a member or maybe got gifted a membership. The gifted membership donors, of course, a big thank you to you. Thanks to everyone who super chatted and super stickered. If you bought something from the merch store, thank you so much for that. Or if you sent something recently through PayPal, thank you all so much. Your support means the world to me. The channel is nothing without you guys. So thank you all so much. A big thank you also to the moderators who once again kept the chat friendly, accessible and happy. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I know I will enjoy some sunshine later, and I hope to see you again on the next one. I'm gonna say bye for now. Be safe. Talk to you later.